All right. Hello, everybody. So over the past couple weeks, we've started doing recrystallization, and I've noticed that there have been decent amount of people that are struggling with getting good yields from their collection, from their recovery of their recrystallized products, and typically that's occurring when we go to do vacuum filtrations. So I wanted to kind of go over some stuff about the setup and things to keep in mind in order to try to maximize the amount of solid that you're able to recover from your recrystallization. All right, so here's just a diagram of a vacuum filtration setup. And so it's similar, but not quite the same as how we have it in lab, where they're using a Buchner funnel, which is for larger scale applications, versus ours using a Hirsch funnel. Once again, this is still a larger Hirsch funnel than what we have, but same concept. So we have the filter flask, right? And that has the port on it that allows us to connect the hose to some sort of vacuum. In our case, it's the pump, right? So if we have, draw the pump, got two ports on the pump. And so let's have the on off switch. Okay. So there's going to be one port that's going to pull air in to the pump this way, and then another port that's going to be exhausting the air. So there's an in and an out. You're going to want to connect that port on the filter flask to the in port with the black tubing, the black rubber tubing that you have in your drawer. You don't want to use the yellow tubing, because the yellow tubing is too thin and can it might not hold up to the pressure differential between the inside of the hose and the outside of the hose, and then it can collapse and then you lose your suction. So if you do this, then you're going to want to, at this point, I would say clamp your filter flask to the monkey bars using the 2-prong clamp at the neck. And so this way you can't accidentally knock over your filter flask when you're filtering, because these hoses can be a little bit finicky when moving it around, and they can knock over the flask pretty easily. So once you've clamped it up here at the neck, then you're going to want to add the neoprene adapter and your funnel, right? And so once you do this, I would go ahead and then turn on the hose. So go ahead and turn on the hose, or not the hose, you're going to turn on the pump. And so once you turn on the pump, what should happen is your air should start flowing. It should start pulling air from outside of the funnel in through the funnel and through here, and then still out, in the same way that it was doing. But now you've got air that would flow over your funnel, and that will be useful for helping you dry your product. So now, once you've got this set up, you want to check to make sure that this is indeed happening. So a good way to do that, just take the palm of your hand and place the palm of your hand up here at the top of the funnel. See, does it make a nice seal? Do you feel suction occurring when you put your hand on the top of the funnel, sorry. If not, then you might need to fix something, make sure that all the seals are tight. You might have some sort of crack in the hose. You might have some sort of issue with the adapter not fitting in properly, or something along those lines. But just reseat everything and make sure that you get to the point where you can feel this nice seal. There should be a seal. So If all that checks out, then I would say it's time to add the filter paper. So the filter paper, right, and so this is a bigger Hirsch funnel than what we have, but you'll notice even on ours, and on ours it's probably like just these holes here. But you have these holes or frets that span the bottom of the Hirsch funnel. What you want to do is you want to make sure your filter paper covers up all of the holes completely so that nothing, your solid can't get through there. Because your solid can't pass through the filter paper, but it can pass through these frets. So you want to avoid that, because if it passes through the frets, then it'll go, it can go under and through and into your flask, and you don't want that. So to do this, you want to make sure that your filter paper is nicely compressed against the bottom of the flask, centered so that it's covering all the holes, and you want to make sure that it's formed a nice flat seal. To aid with that, so let's go ahead and draw. You've got your beaker. And let's see, this is your ice bath, right? So you've got ice cubes and things like that. All right, so you've got your round bottom. It's got your product, we'll say yellow product, and it's got your solvent in there, right? So you just worked and you chilled down your solution, and you've got your product that crashed out. So you want to be able to recover that. What I would recommend doing is taking the test tube, geez, I can't draw. And so fill that with your solvent, whatever solvent you use to do the recrystallization. Fill your test tube with that solvent. Cool it down, right? Because so solubility decreases as temperature decreases. So that's the whole point of us putting this in the ice bath. So we don't want to then take your solid and rinse it with room temperature solvent, because that'll be warmer. It'll be more soluble in that warmer solvent than it is in the colder solvent. So you want to have this solvent as cold as possible so that it doesn't dissolve more of your solid than it could have. All right, so from there, say we've got a dry filter paper on here, right? On the funnel. Take some of that cold solvent and add some drops of it onto the filter paper around to make sure to wet the filter paper just so that it forms a nice seal. Once you've done that, then you can take your mixture, your solution of your solvent in your crystals, mix that up just by swirling it around a little bit, and then quickly take it. All right, so you're gonna swirl that around, not necessarily in the bath, outside the bath, but swirl it around a little bit, get it stirred up a little bit, and then dump it onto the center of your Hirsch funnel. And you want to do that somewhat quickly, right? So the faster you do that, the less time you have for the solid to settle back to the bottom, and it'll help you get as much over in one go as possible. If you need more, you can take from your test tube of cold solvent, add it a little bit at a time, maybe like a half mil or a mil at most. Add it in there, swirl it around, repeat the same process, add it on top again. And then if you need to, you can use your Pasteur pipette. Take the pipette tip and basically just pipette up and down with your syringe. So here's your syringe, and I'm gonna. All right. So take like half a mil or a mil of this, draw it up into your pipette tip, and then eject it into your round bottom flask towards the bottom, with some speed, right? So you can induce some flow to help try to knock as much off the glass as possible, and then draw it back up by pulling up and push it back down, and just mix it up like that if you need to. And then from there, same process as previous, you dump it into the center. And from there, you leave the pump going, right? So you've now got your solid on the pump, or on the funnel. It's sitting on the filter paper. It shouldn't be able to get through if there's a nice seal, as there should be. And then you've got air that is flowing through your solid and down into the hose through this way. Your solvent collects down here. All right, so your solvent comes down here. And then leave this go for a while, right? Because you've got this air pumping through, that'll help it dry, right? So if you have potentially, like a greater than 100% yield, that's probably because your solid wasn't completely dried at the time, right? And so if you just wait, leave this going until you can feel with your micro spatula that you can feel that it's nice and flaky and powdery, then you're good to go. But yeah, so that's just summary of tips in order to try to maximize your recovery of these recrystallized products. So once again, make sure that you've got the vacuum going. Make sure that you've got good seal here, right? You make sure you've got a good seal of your filter paper on your funnel. Make sure that it's covering all the holes. Make sure that it's not like kinked or anything like that. Make sure that it's nice and flat, and that it looks like it's tight against the bottom of the not the bottom, but against the porcelain of the funnel. And then go ahead, swirl around, and dump it as much as possible into the center of the funnel, and then that should help. So good luck. Thank you guys for watching.